My name is Dan Whisenhunt. This is the Avondale Estates Candidate Forum. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I'd like to take a minute to introduce our candidates. Seated left to right, we have Lyda Steadman. You can clap if you want to. Lionel, Laratte, Suazo, and Dan Marcec. So the election in Avondale Estates is November 4th. I believe it starts October 14th. I asked the city if they would pay me to do this. They said no. And I said, well, I'll look at my fall fundraiser. They said, absolutely. So supportyourlocalnews.com is where you can visit our fall fundraiser. If you enjoy seeing our reporters at your city council meetings, if you enjoy the school board coverage, we're the only outlet covering schools. If you enjoy features, things like that, if you enjoy local news, that's what supports that, and we need your help. So supportyourlocalnews.com is where you can donate to that fundraiser. You might hear about it a couple of times tonight. So these are the rules. Each candidate is going to get 90 seconds to make an opening statement, and they're going to get 90 seconds to make a closing statement, and they're going to get 90 seconds to answer each question. The seating order you see here has been randomized, so they all drew a number, so no candidate would have an advantage. To keep things orderly, we're going to go left to right and right to left on each answer, so candidates won't have an advantage of being first or last each time. Most of these questions came from you all. I got them in my email inbox. Y'all did a great job. You asked some great questions. I might have reworded a few, but mostly this is what you want to know, the candidates. The other thing that I'm going to ask is that, there's a time clock behind us, but that's where they'll be paying attention, and when you got 30 seconds left, to wrap it up. The only thing that I ask is that there are no disruptions, there's no applause, no cheering. I want to get through as many questions as we can. All right, let's get into it. So starting with Lyda Steadman, could you please give us your 90-second opening statement?
Yes, thank you all. Can you hear me? Thank you all. I'm running for commissioner because I love the city. I have served this city as a city clerk and finance officer. I've been a member of the and have stayed engaged as a resident. I believe that government exists to serve the people and to be accountable to them at all times. This means being open and transparent and ensuring that you are clearly informed on the government is and how your tax dollars are being spent. One thing I want to make clear is that I have always supported down. As a matter of fact, in 2009, I proposed and advocated for a new position, City Planning and Development Officer. This position was filled and it was an important step for the development forward. Okay, and there's a lot that's been done in the recent years in development that I'm very pleased with, but I know there's still more to be done. I support reaching out to small businesses. I think they sell themselves and how they can be successful by providing parking and anyway, I'll comments if I like to touch on. I'll support progress without unfairly burdening the taxpayers and without neglecting our city's greatest resources.
Thank you. Next one, Commissioner Laratte.
Hey, good evening, folks. Thank you for coming. This is really good. I love to see this place packed. Anyway, I've been a commissioner here in the past 8 years. Avondale Estates isn't just where I live, it is who I am. And what I mean by that is that I care deeply about our city. And I care so deeply that I'm willing to do this a third time. Above everything else, I want you to know that for me, people are what matter most. And your concerns, your ideas, your well-being, those are my top priorities. I want you to thrive. I want this community to thrive. And that's why I'm running again. Tonight, I'm hoping we'll have a robust discussion. I expect us to get a sense of each candidate's views, their leadership philosophies, what skills they bring to the table, and where they see us headed as a city. I welcome this expression of democracy. I love a good debate. And we didn't have one in the last election, unfortunately, but we are here now. I do believe that having diversity of thought, diversity of ideas, and diversity of approaches to solving problems, I think that's how you get the best results. But there's one thing that we all have to have in common, and that is an unshakable will to make the city the best that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next up, we have Louis Suazo.
Thank you, Dan, for your independent journalism. Thank you, residents, for your engagement. Thank you, staff, for organizing all of this, and thank you, members of the Board of Mayors and Commissioners, for your service and your leadership. My name is Louis Suazo, but you can call me Louis. I'm an architect, but I am not the architect with the round glasses and the top button buttoned. I'm the architect who's at a construction site most days with a hard hat and safety glasses. And I work on very large projects that are using hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money. And so therefore I am accustomed to fiscal accountability. My partner Susan and I renovated a home in the historic district in 2018. And since then, I've served on the Board of Mayor and Commissioners and the Historic, I'm jumping the gun, on the Planning, Zoning, and Architecture Review Board and the Historic Preservation Commission, and I serve on both concurrently. Right now, in the middle of the 2020s, the original homes built in Avondale Estates are celebrating their 100th birthday. I am excited for the future of this city, and I want to be part of the second century of Avondale. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Marcec, your opening statement.
All right, thank you. So we're going to have plenty of time to talk about specific issues throughout the evening tonight, so I thought it would be really important to take this time to let you all know why I'm running and what you can expect from me if you're elected to be as commissioner. So the number one reason, and actually Commissioner Laratte already referenced it, is for moments like these, to bring communities together to discuss openly what matters to us the most. So I do understand that obviously the last election we didn't have that opportunity. And I think it's important for everybody to feel like they have a choice in who represents them. So that's why I decided to run. Of course, it's not just about that sense of civic duty. I also believe I have skills to do the work. I've spent 20 years in research and communications, in real estate, not travel, worked in technology, corporate governance, and executive compensation, all sorts of different industries. And it's my job every day to process complex information and make it easily understandable. So I think that's an essential quality of a commissioner. So while I may not know it all, and I may not have every answer to every question about what's happening in the city today, I do have the skills and the drive to do the work, and I try to understand every side of the issue before making a decision. I'm not going to make any campaign promises today. I promise that. But the one promise that I will make is that I'm always going to approach any situation through the perspective of we and never through an agenda of me.
Thank you. I want to give a quick shout out to our timekeeper, the city clerk, Karina. She's doing a great job for us. Thank you for being here and helping us with this. Starting with Dan Marcec. Dan, how would you describe the current relationship between the city's government and its residents?
It depends who you ask. So I can speak from the standpoint of myself as a resident. I also serve on the Planning and Zoning Board with Louis, and I've got a great relationship with the city government. They've always been there to answer questions when I've asked them. I'm actually currently seeking a home renovation, which, as many of us who have done that can understand, that can be challenging. I do not live in the historic district. I live one house outside of it, so I don't have to deal with Louis and his crew there. But I found them to be very responsive and very helpful in those matters. And that's really all I can speak to.
Okay. Louis Suazo.
Dan, will you repeat the question?
Absolutely. How would you describe the current relationship between the city's government and its residents?
Well, I think I need to answer that by what I observe in the world. One of the ways in which the community communicates with the government is through our engagement efforts. This year coming up, we've got the comprehensive plan revisions and the new downtown development plan, And those are the opportunities where the city speaks back to the government. When I look, let's say downtown, for example, when I look at our renovated parks at Fletcher Park and other places, it feels to me like the things the city stated as being important through those development plans are happening. And in that, because of that, I feel like the city and the government are communicating with each other. The list of accomplishments that the city has had that they've published in their, like in our city e-news, it just states over and over what has been done. To me, that's a sign that things are happening in the right way in the city. The residents are communicating to the city and the city's responding.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte, same question.
Sure. You're starting off with actually an area where I think the city can improve, honestly. I think the city can improve in customer service overall. I definitely, the reason I say that is because I am, on the quote inside right now. I get to see emails, I get calls from residents, and yeah, granted, a lot of people will not call to congratulate you on doing a good job, but I also think that a lot of people won't take the time to call and, complain unless it's something that really bugs them. I'm proud of the fact that every email, every call, every text I get, I answer. I think over the past 4 years, I may have missed 2. But then when I realized I missed them, I got back to the folks after that. I think it's just my philosophy that the city is here to serve the people. Everything is about the people for me. And customer service, I think, is something we can improve upon. I'd like to collect better data on customer service. I'd like to understand trends. See, what areas we need to improve in. I think that's important. And, honestly, continuous improvement is something that I believe we and everybody needs to do. I don't believe we're ever perfect. We can always try to get there, but we'll never get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Lyda Steadman, same question.
Well, I agree with Lionel. I think there's room for improvement. I do come to meetings and have been disheartened by how residents have sometimes been treated when asked a question. I have witnessed a reduction in time for people to make comments and an effort to not answer questions. As far as dealing with City Hall, I don't know much about that, not being a commissioner, but and getting emails. But I have talked to a lot of people in the community, and there are different experiences, but I've heard a lot of people that said their calls have gone unanswered, their emails have not been responded to, and that projects that they're trying to work on at their home have taken unnecessarily long time. So I think this is an area where our city can improve, and that's something I want to be a part of. And I think we can reach out through our e-news to inform residents better. We used to have a city manager report that came out along with a police report and a sanitation report. And that seems to have stopped, but I think that was a helpful avenue to get news out to the residents and communicate with them better.
Thank you. Next question, starting with Lyda Steadman. What are 1 or 2 qualities you possess that you think would make you effective as a city commissioner?
Well, I think a strong thing that I bring to the table is my financial experience. I have a lot of background in budgeting and accounting that I can bring to the table. I think this city is not doing as good a job of reviewing their finances on a regular basis. It's about, our taxes have gone up almost 60% since 2020, and our budget has gone up almost about 27% in the last 3 years. We need to do a better job of managing our expenses and carefully, determining, what is necessary and reasonable to do year by year. And we need to make solid plans, and I feel like I can bring that to the table. I also have a lot of experience in local government. I've had extensive training at the Carl Vinson Institute of Government, at the Georgia Financial Officers Association, and constitutional officers and the Georgia Municipal Association. So I feel like I can all bring all that to the table.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte.
Yeah, I think, the best thing that I bring to bear in the service of this city are my analytical skills. By training and by profession, I'm a management consultant. I've been to over 80 companies in my career, and I've helped them solve problems. Each of them somewhat different, no two are the same, but also, some things are the same. I do use a common methodology. I look at things from different perspectives. I try to distill them into manageable chunks of understanding, and then I try to find solutions to those problems. Change management is an area that I do a lot. Service management is another area. I do a lot of different management consulting in a lot of different areas. But I do find that it helps me to understand problems, understand, different things that we see here, and to know how to solve them, or at least know the methodology, if not the solution. I'm running out of time. I could go on about this, but thank you.
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
I mentioned a little earlier about my work. In my work on the large government projects, one of the ways I was trained to assess, for example, a cost. There's always problems with construction, right? There are always cost overruns. Is to determine whether it's fair and reasonable. If the contractor provides you pricing and it's fair and reasonable for that contractor, make a profit and do the work that needs to be done. I celebrated a birthday this week, a birthday in late September. It makes me a Libra. I have always been proud of myself, I'll say it that way. I've always felt comfortable seeing both sides. The Libra is the sign of the scales. Throughout my life, I've always, let's say I've always been in the middle. I can understand one point of view, I can understand another point of view, and really I feel like I learn more when I listen to others, when I understand what their concerns are, even if they're different concerns or they're concerns that I didn't think of before. And that's really the way to kind of balance and understand how to address an issue. So honestly, to me, that is my most important asset.
Thank you. Dan Marcec.
Thank you. So, to start, I have a passion for city planning. And that started as I started my career as a journalist in commercial real estate. And it's been something that I've been very interested in my entire career and my entire life. I've been lucky enough to serve on the Planning and Zoning Board for the last 5 years and as the chair for the past 3 years. And in that capacity, actually this year, I had the opportunity to attend a seminar with the Atlanta Regional Commission. And through that, I got to meet a lot of people from around the area, different cities, different departments, things like that, and just learn about what's going on and what other people are doing in other cities and how they're making development work and how they're making growth in their downtown areas and things like that work. And so I bring that perspective, I bring that passion, I bring that interest to what we're doing here in Avondale Estates. Currently, I do like what's going on, but I know there's a lot of work ahead. And I know that there are a lot of concerns about what the future holds. And frankly, I want to be a part of shaping that future. The second thing that I want to mention, I already covered in my intro, but I'm a communicator. So we talk about the challenges of communication with the city. And I've worked for 5 different founder CEOs. So small companies, I've been the direct kind of advisor to a couple of them. And that ability to distill information from people who are really very busy trying to do their jobs and being that liaison is something that our community really needs, and I think that's something I can provide.
Thank you. We have some open seats if I see some people standing, so if you need to grab a seat, I think there are a few open seats, so you're not going to bother me at all if you want to sit down. So all the candidates, I will say, you don't have to use the full 90 seconds if you don't want to. You will not be dinged for that. Brevity is the soul of wit, and we can get to more questions. But use the time if you need it.
And I am getting messages from a lot of people trying to zoom in, asking everyone to try to speak into the mics.
Yes, good call. Yeah, so please speak into the mics if at all possible. Next question, starting with Dan Marcec. What, in your opinion, is the role of a city commissioner?
The role of city commissioner is to be a liaison to the community. And that is the number one thing, but what I want to talk about is how I view community and what that means to me. So you'll see, I actually see this in a letter to the editor that I submitted to Kara. She'll be hopefully in the voter guide. Dan, you can tell me if that's true. So I came up with this, well, I didn't come up with it, but it just came to me, this idea of a community of we. So that is all of the residents in Avondale Estates, whether they vote for me or whether they don't, whether they live in an apartment, whether they live in a single-family residence. We're all part of the same community. But it also extends beyond that. So it's being a liaison to the business owners. Some of them own their properties, so they are property owners in our city, but they can't vote because they don't live here. So it's our responsibility to represent them as well. It's the people who go to school in our community at Avondale Elementary. I know museum school where my son goes is outside of the community a little bit, but his friends are friends with my friend. They're like, his friends come and play at the park and all that, and they're part of our community too, is what I'm trying to say. In my mind, anyone who crosses that Welcome to Avondale Estate sign is involved with our community. And I think that's our responsibility as commissioners, to be a liaison between the city and all of those people, all of those together. And again, I call that the community of we, and that's what I'm here to represent.
Thank you. Louis Suazo, same question.
Dan, I mentioned earlier the comprehensive plan, the downtown development plan. Those are the planning documents for the city, just like an architect uses plans to build a building. The comprehensive plan is the vision for the future of the city. To me, the role of a commissioner is to sort of be the interpreter between that document, the comprehensive plan, and the motions, the actions, the decisions that are before them. If there's a decision to spend money on something or to choose one priority over the other, for example, during the budget setting period of the year, all of that needs to be balanced through the lens of the planning document, the comprehensive plan. And that's why I mentioned earlier that the time for the residents to express their vision, their aspirations for the city is during that planning, and allow the Board of Commissioners to sort of turn that into reality through the actions of the staff and the city manager.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte, same question.
I've seen the role of commissioner as a leadership position. And what I mean by that is that you are electing each of us to bring whatever vision it is we have of how the city should be to bear. You don't elect all of us at the same time on one ticket. I think it's important to note that you elect each one of us individually, and I think it's important that we each bring our understanding of where we want the city to go to bear. Now, second, I also believe that we have a duty and a responsibility to understand what residents want and to help that come alive as well. Now, what one resident wants may differ from another resident wants, or what another resident wants. But I think as a commissioner, the thing that I've done successfully and that I like doing is listening to, everyone's needs and wants and prioritizing them and understanding what is feasible in the short term, in the medium term, in the long term, and what is going to benefit most. So, it's a balance of urgency and impact. What is urgent that has to be done, and what gives us the greatest impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Lyda Steadman.
I think a commissioner's first responsibility is to serve the people, to serve them equally and openly, and hear from them and take time to understand their issues and problems. And I've also, on a different level, commissioners are here to set policy for the city, and they should do that based on input from residents. They are to set the vision for the city and to direct the city manager on how they want to see the city operated and how the residents should be served. I think it's important that a commissioner is a builder of bridges and someone who is an advocate for bringing the community together to figure out ways to solve our differences and make us come together in a collaborative way to move the city forward in a very positive direction. But public service is the name of the game, and I would be a proud public servant because that is what I think a commissioner should be.
Thank you. Next question, we're going to start with Lyda Steadman. What is the role of a city manager?
The role of the city manager is to run the day-to-day operations of the city under the direction of the Board of Mayor and Commissioners. He is responsible for enforcing our laws and for managing the staff and preparing information for the board to make sound decisions on behalf of the city.
Commissioner Laratte.
The role of the city manager, in my view, is the day-to-day operations. None of us up here, as a commissioner, is paid to go here every day. We have other ways of making a living, and I think a charter does that by design, in that you have, excuse me, you have a policy-making body that is a direct representative of residents. And then you have city staff and the city manager and his staff whose responsibility it is to make that happen. There are lines that I definitely draw between what a commissioner does and what the city manager does. I don't believe that, it's a commissioner or group of commissioners' job to really figure out how the minute steps of carrying out something is to be done. My view is that, we have city staff who are here every day and who are paid to bring us options. Bring us the options, we'll consider them, and then we'll decide which direction to take. That's really, how I see the city manager's role, and we have a good city manager, a great city manager who manages the day-to-day operations. That's basically how I see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
It's a very straightforward question, and sometimes the hardest to answer. The role of the city manager is to implement the actions, the decisions, the motions set forth by the Board of Mayor and Commissioners. I think a way of assessing whether a city manager is doing a good job or not, as I said earlier, is one is by observation. I see a lot that is happening in the city. I see a lot that has happened in the city. And when I look at the budgeting documents and the plans for the future, there's a lot more coming. But when it boils down to it, in the simplest terms, a city manager affects the will of the people, and the will of the people is expressed through its planning, through its priorities.
Thank you. Dan Marcec.
So I think my fellow candidates have described well kind of what the legal relationship is between the city manager and board of mayor and commissioners. But I like to see it as much more of a strategic partnership as well. I do think that obviously the city manager's role and the city staff's role is day-to-day operations. But if they're seen as something as just cogs in a wheel, I don't think that gives them a lot of incentive to do the work necessary to the best of their abilities. And just as an illustration, I think about this, again, drawing from my experience in small companies, you have the creative, and you have the idea people, and you have the employees and the customers, and then you have the people who execute. That's what city staff does, and they should be looked at as people who have their own skills and their own expertise, and they bring so much to the table that we can't provide. I know I can't provide the expertise that we have in city planning and in finance and in other areas We're here to represent the people and speak to them so that they can do their jobs. And we're here to trust them and have that close partnership. So that's what I see the role as, bringing us ideas and best practices from other places that we may not have the access to. And so, again, strategic partnership and trust, I think, is the key things that I want to take away from that.
Thank you. Starting this next question with Dan. What is your opinion about the city commission's decision to give the city manager an 11% raise?
Well, I don't have all the information about what went into that raise, so I can't comment on the particularities of the dollar amounts. However, I did speak at the meeting when they announced this, and I want to say that I did support the commission's approach. One thing that I do know is, I've worked in executive recruitment and compensation and things like that. And I know how difficult it is to both hire and retain high-level individuals. And so if we think about not just the cost of our city manager or any employee's salary, but not only the value that they provide overall, but also the cost of losing that person and having to replace them. Hiring a recruiting firm, the time that you lose when you lose a major employee, the possible loss of their entire team alongside them if they go with that person are far more costly than 11%, especially when you look at the list of accomplishments that this city staff has done. So I would say that.
Thank you. Louis Suazo. No applause, please.
Dan, I think you did a great job explaining that. The way I look at it is, if the city set the salary adjustment with intentionality, then it seems a reasonable thing to do. I was at that meeting also, and in our website, there's in the meeting minutes, there's a document that lists so many accomplishments of the city manager. Many of them I didn't know about, but one of them that stood out was, acquiring $2 million more from the DeKalb County, from the SPLOST funds that were, basically unevenly distributed around other cities. That was an incredible statistic to hear. And again, I don't know all the details of everything that goes on in the city, but something I'm interested in and I've noticed is that this city staff brings in millions of dollars of grants over the course of time. And those grants are free money to the city and do things. And to me, that's impressive. And to have a city manager and city staff that puts in the extra effort to acquire, free money for the city, that's remarkable to me.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte.
Yeah, I think everyone here knows that I voted against that raise, and, I have very solid reasons for doing so. First, I think a characteristic that everyone should know about me is that I am, I don't even know how to put it, I consider myself a financially responsible person. And when I looked at the comparison first of that increase in salary compared to other cities, not their increases, but what their city managers are making, if you break it down to a per capita expense, I think what we ended up with, and I don't have the numbers with me, but I did calculate them, it came out to about $57 per person. The city of Clarkston or Tucker, I think you're somewhere around the $24, $22 per person. That's simple math that I did in making this decision. I couldn't go along with it. I had a ceiling. 6% was my ceiling. And that's what I thought was financially responsible given the size of the city. There's more I could explain to it, but I'm running out of time.
Thank you. Lyda Steadman.
Well, I've worked in management for decades, and generally raises are kept in the 3 to 5 range for staying in your position and doing an good job. Generally, a raise of that magnitude would be a promotional raise. Going to a larger position within the organization. Now, in this case, the city manager couldn't go to a larger position. But I think that under current economic conditions, considering the size of the city, I think that was an excessive raise. I don't obviously have all the information on, because I have not worked directly with him, but to me, it was excessive.
Thank you. Starting with Lyda Steadman, what is your opinion of the North Avondale Complete Street project? And do you think the city has done enough to mitigate the impact on residents and businesses?
Well, I'm excited that it will be a much more walkable community when it's finished. But it has been quite an upsetting experience for many of our residents. I think that I do feel like the city could have communicated with us better, and I think that and guided us through this process. I know it's not just been on the city. We've also had to deal with DeKalb County on this, and their sewer line and water line issues. But I'm looking forward to its completion, as I know the rest of the community is.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte, same question.
You know, if I remember correctly, I think that's one of the first things that I voted on the first time I was elected. I voted yes for it because I think it's a good idea. The way that the road was before, I mean, it wasn't anything wrong with it, but it wasn't exciting. You couldn't walk down to Sam's Crossing and catch the train. My wife tried it a couple of times. She works downtown, but she gave up on that. So that particular thing, I think it's a good thing for the city. There's a lot of pain that goes along with it. Let me talk a little bit about the support for residents and small businesses. I mentioned earlier, I think we could have communicated better with residents and continuous communication so that, things weren't so surprising and so hectic. Support for small businesses, I think we started off slow. We got better. On that front, I do remember that I sent a fairly long letter to Chairman Dieters, as well as the city manager and the other commissioners about actions that could be taken to mitigate the pain that the small businesses were going through. And I'm glad to say some of them were enacted, the microloan thing, et cetera. There are other things.
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
I am so excited about this complete street project. And part of it is because I am an architect, and part of it is because I'm trained to see what does not exist yet. But I hope some of you are starting to see what's starting to exist. I disagreed a little bit with Commissioner Laratte. The previous road was not okay. It was very not okay. And in this month's e-news, there's a whole page here with information about the complete street and with a schedule of what you can expect over the next several weeks. And I'm not here to be a cheerleader for the city, but the information is here and it's coming. It says that by the end of this year, the beginning of next year, the project will be complete. Imagine this. Imagine children or grandchildren will be able to cross that street so much more safely than they were a year ago. The street lights, the wide walking paths, crossing paths, and someday a golf cart crossing, that's my favorite. With respect to the businesses, the Downtown Development Authority, I think, has done a lot, has really, really, really tried to make it easier on them with things that have previously been mentioned. But my favorite one was the cone, the Dolly Parton, a creative and
Thank you.
fun way.
Dan Marcec, same question.
So I'm not going to mince words here. I think it's the most transformative project in the Atlanta area that I've seen in the 25 years that I've lived here. You could say the Beltline, but it's a lot bigger and a lot, kind of different problems that goes along with that. The main reason I say that is because it's turned Avondale Estates, or it will have turned Avondale Estates into a destination instead of a drive-through. And I think that's really important for the future of our community. We don't allow drive-throughs in the zoning code, as I know very well, and we shouldn't allow, it's not allowed. But instead of being a place for commuters to drive through, now they're going to want to stop. We're inviting people into our businesses. And so even though, yes, it has been painful, personally, all I've done is just walked my way through it and continue supporting them like I know so many of my fellow residents have done, and as we should continue to do. But I think the overall vision for it, that really, and kudos to Commissioner Laratte and everyone who's worked on this project for over 10 years, the ability to see through a vision like this, through all the different things, to working with DeKalb County, with the state, it's a U.S. highway. Everything that goes into that is so complex, and unfortunately, yes, there's some pain that goes along with that, but I think that the vision for the future is going to make all of us have a better place to live.
Thank you. Somewhat related question, starting with Dan Marcec. What are your ideas to address speeding on some of the city's major roads?
Well, we already did a good job by reducing the speed limit on Clarendon, which I live on, and I'm very appreciative of that. I know that there have been some complications with the traffic calming initiatives, but I'm supportive of the idea of looking into those. I also like to bike. I like to walk. I have 3 dogs, and I have a 7-year-old son who has not learned to bike yet because I have a hilly driveway and I live at the top of Clarendon, and it's very difficult for him to find any flat ground to ride on. So I'm supportive of whatever we can do to look at slowing traffic through the city. Once again, going back to the complete streets idea, the idea that people who come here want to stay here and want to be here and want to spend time in our community. And not, frankly, speed. Again, I live right at the corner of Wilshire and Clarendon. People, they do stop at that stop sign, but they don't stop at the next one by the DeKalb School of the Arts. So I know that we're not allowed to put speed humps on Clarendon because of the thoroughfare for fire trucks, and that's fine. Those kind of things are solutions as well. But anything that we can do to make our city more pedestrian-oriented and more bike-friendly, because it is a bike thoroughfare as well, coming through the Stone Mountain Path. All of those things I would be supportive of to slow down traffic coming to our city.
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
I think our traffic calming exercise over the past year was very interesting on several levels. One of them was the community engagement aspect of it. That project started with sort of a, let's call it a test. There were different things, different plastic things, different stripes that were painted that were meant to give visual cues to slow down traffic. There were stop signs placed, which are, hard, easily understood things. And through community meetings from public input, there were issues pointed out. There were places where the turn was too tight. It was not right, just things that were felt weird to the driver, things that that just didn't make sense, and those things got addressed, and it was sort of a back and forth. And I don't know every intersection of the city. Every paint stripe may not be perfect or stop sign, but it seems a lot different. It seems a lot better. Even the simplest thing of putting stop signs really makes a difference. And that particularly right over here at that intersection, it used to feel like I was going through a maze, and now it's just a nice gentle curve. And I feel like it was difficult to do, but it worked out in the end.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte.
Yeah, you hit on the one yes vote that I made that I regret. And it's my bad. It's the one time that I did not speak up, and I knew better, and I should have spoken up. When you go to make changes like this, you do it incrementally. You don't do it all at once. And I'm kicking myself now because I should have advocated for just putting a couple of speed tables on Kensington. Then we measure and see how that goes. And if it's not enough, we do something else. And until we get the results that we want. I just, for whatever reason, did not do that. So I'm sorry, I don't like it. And, I wish I could take, all of it out. having said that, there are things about it that did work. I think the stop signs on, what is that, North Avenue? I think those are great. They slow me down, they slow other people down. I think it's great. I think, just as a matter of safety, we have a lot of folks who are, on the, how do I put it, the upper side of age. And, and I think for their safety, it's something that we need to look out for. We also have new families with little kids. My son was one of them.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm for it.
Thank you. Lyda Steadman.
Well, I'm all for traffic calming in our residential area. However, I do feel like the traffic calming on Kensington was an expensive mistake. I think that it would cost $100,000 for a pilot program, and I think it was very confusing. I know people said they felt like they were playing chicken trying to come down the road. I guess I wasn't at the meetings where this was discussed beforehand, but I know there was a lot of public concern after the fact. I know a lot of people don't like speed humps, but instead of spending $100,000 on what I think was a big mistake, we could have put in a couple of speed humps for $10,000, or less. And I think that would have been a better solution, because I can tell you, after this stuff was put in, I was walking one morning and a guy came speeding through. He must have been going 60 miles an hour, and that was through what has been put in place. So I think that we need to be more careful about how we move forward with traffic calming in the future.
Thank you. My boss, Karina, has asked me to ask y'all if you would
Just sit back a little.
sit back a little further from the mic.
Okay.
Apparently it's taking us up.
Closer.
Yes, apparently, we'll get it figured out by the end of the night, I promise. But that was the advice we were given. Starting with Lyda Steadman, and I want to remind everyone that most of these questions come from everyone in this room. In recent years, the commission has changed the way it communicates with constituents. Those changes include limits on the number of questions at public meetings and restrictions on the back and forth between residents and commissioners. Do you agree with those changes?
I do not. I think that the whole reason for public meetings is so that residents understand what is going on in their city, that how city business is being conducted, and I believe that they should be able to comment on that, and I believe that, and treated with respect, I believe that their questions should be answered. Sometimes you can't answer the questions. You don't have the information before you, but I think you should be tell the residents that I will get back to you with that information and do it in a timely manner. So I believe in open dialogue between residents and commissioners. I think that's a very important part of good government and good governance.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte.
No, I don't agree with it. And whoever sent that question, you're sort of taking the steam out of my letter to the editor, because I addressed that. It's a large part of why transparency is so big on my yard sign. It's because I do believe that everyone, should be a part of this. When people come in here and sit down and sit through a meeting, I sit at the end there. I make it a point to try to thank everyone for coming, and I try to tell them that I look forward to seeing them the next time, because I believe in an open government. Maybe I believe it to an extreme, but I do believe that everything we do as a government should be open to you, and you should be able to ask questions and get an answer. And if we don't have an answer, the next meeting we should have that answer and provide it to you. It's just a matter of, you are the ones who put us up here, and, I've never turned down a phone call, an offer of coffee, or anything else with any resident, and I will continue that if I'm reelected. I just believe in open communication with residents. I could go more into it, but there's some good stuff in that letter to the editor, so I won't tell you about it here.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah.
Louis Suazo.
On this topic, I'd like to know more about what other cities do. I honestly don't know. I'd like to know what are the best practices, what works in other places, what makes sense. Of course, there's no point in limiting, resident input. However, documenting it somehow seems to be helpful. If there's a question, can we write it down as a question and get back? Is there if residents can submit questions ahead of time or even during the meeting and somehow put them in writing, it just seems a reasonable way to keep track of it. For me personally, I need a little Post-it to help me keep track of things and remember to do that.
Thank you. Dan Marcec?
Well, I do want to say that, yeah, it's hard to, I'm not going to say that I think that residents should have less time to speak, and I don't think that. But hearing everybody's responses and thinking about this a little bit more in the last couple of minutes, there need to be more avenues for residents to ask questions. And if the meeting is 2 hours or 4 hours, all these questions aren't going to be answered. So as commissioner, I am very open to looking at more ways to increase transparency and more ways for the public to participate and question and answers with the commissioners. It's a difficult thing because these are public meetings, so they have to be documented and run in certain ways to comply with state law. And reducing the time of residents to contribute to those is not necessarily the best approach. This is a very good point brought to me, and if elected, I certainly will look at ways that we can find more opportunities for residents to get their points across. Since I got 25 more seconds, I'd keep going. Really, because it also has to do with the fact that I know we switched the times of the meetings too, and that's really hard. And you know what, 7:30 is really hard for most of the young parents in Avondale to make it to. 5:30 might be a little bit easier right after work. There's really not a perfect solution for everything to be covered at 2 public meetings a month. And so I would be very dedicated to exploring that solution.
Thank you. Starting this question with Dan Marcec. How would you increase transparency and citizen participation in city commission meetings?
Oh, well, we just talked about that. And I went to my full time. See if I have anything else to add there. I think, echoing Louis, the idea of writing down questions beforehand, the materials are available online, so that gives more opportunities for more questions to come in. Potentially restructuring meetings in a way that allows additional commentary and things like that. Beyond that, I already dedicated myself to finding a solution for this, and so I'll just keep there.
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
Dan, during my time on the Planning, Zoning, and Architecture Review Board and the HPC, as a new member of those, I didn't know much about this, and I learned there are things like no more than 2 commissioners, I think, can meet together outside of work or whatever at the same time. This is all new to me. Someone used the phrase, they said that in the city government, transparency is built in. And that seemed to make sense to me. When I go online and read the meeting minutes, they are very detailed. And Karina, that is an incredible thing that you do. I don't know how that's done. There's a lot of information there. And I assume there are rules. I really would just like to learn more about this issue, learn what the concerns are, and understand how it's done. We have lots of cities around here that have their things online. Honestly, I think I need to watch more of their meetings and understand how they do it to have a better opinion about how we can do it.
Commissioner Laratte.
Yeah, so once again, something that I addressed in the Decatur's questionnaire. So I'm going to be brief about this. If we could have this many people in the room every meeting, I would be ecstatic. I want people to participate. I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to provide you answers to your questions. I want you to know why we're raising the millage rate. I want you to know when we're lowering the millage rate. I want you to know because you live here. This is your place, and you should have a voice in your government. That's really all I can say. How would I solve that problem? You can read it in there, but one of the things that I put down is to move the meeting times back. Another solution to that is to communicate more. We communicate with the city. We have the newsletter. We have the magazine. We have a lot of things that we do. We can do more. But, you know, that's really all I can say in the time that I have. But read what I wrote, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lyda Steadman.
Well, one point I'd like to make is some of these efforts to reduce commentary during meetings seemed truly unnecessary, since it's quite often we don't get more than half a dozen people at these meetings, unless it was a big issue. But I think ways that we can communicate better is, number one, I mentioned before, using the city e-news, not just so much for community events and meeting dates and times, but to give you true information about what the city is working on, how our police department is working. I think we need to add some crime statistics back so that people know the kind of crime that we're having in the city. I wouldn't be opposed to having maybe semi-annual public hearings to give people a chance to come out and just be heard. I think any way that we can, you know, listen to our residents and hear from them and be able to respond to them is a positive thing. Let's see if I can think of anything else. I do think it's important to communicate with our residents to the best of our ability. You know, surveys is another possible way, you know, that we could send out a survey to residents and say, you know, how are we doing? Tell us what you think. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we're going to start with Lyda Steadman. What is your opinion about the museum school and its relationship with the city of Avondale Estates?
Well, I have actually gone down to the park several times, probably four times in the past month, because I know that this is an issue. I can tell you that a number of years ago, or several years ago, I walked past and it seemed pretty active down there, and cars were going both ways. When I have gone down there more recently, especially when the pool was open and it was one way, I saw a huge improvement in the number of kids, and I understand that is because the museum school has worked with the city and now have after-school programs that reduce the number of people, number of children at the park. And, you know, I think that we should make Dartmouth one way year-round. I think that will help with the safety for the children. The majority of people in the park are people that live here, and their children go to school there. And I most recently spent 2 hours down there, and what I saw was a lot of kids playing, some parents hanging out and socializing, and I think, you know, that's what a park's for. And, you know, I support making it a one-way street, and if necessary, making sure that any area on Dartmouth that is adjacent to the park, you can only park on one side of the street.
Commissioner Laratte?
Yeah, you know, I didn't think there was a problem. I'm being honest with you. Kids go to the park, kids play. That's what they do. Once they're off the school's premises, they're no longer the school's responsibility. If we want to do something about it, you know, we should do something about it. You know, from my office window at home, I can hear the kids, and when it's not, when it's winter or colder, I can see through to the park. I can't do that in summer because of the trees. You know, I think it's good for kids to go out and play. There is a traffic problem. My recommendation is make it one way year round. You know, it might bother some people, yes, but you know, sometimes we do have to suffer through some inconvenience for a greater good. Most recently, I started hanging out with a bunch of dads in the pool parking lot on Friday afternoon, and really my goal, not just to socialize, but also to see what's going on. And I had heard, you know, I half went down there expecting to see kids running around trying to scalp each other, you know, but no, you know, it's not. It's parents telling kids not to roll around in the dirt in their uniforms, you know. And thank you, that's community. I love it.
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
Dan, it sounds like this question is more about the relationship of the city with the children from the museum school as they play in the playground during afternoon pickup. My children are older. I did not raise children in here, so I can't speak authoritatively, and I don't live on the park. I can't speak authoritatively on this specifically. However, I was invited by a neighbor to go to the park and observe for myself. And what I saw was a joyful bunch of kids playing, and some older kids doing what older kids do, and a whole bunch of parents who were there. And whatever decisions need to be made or whatever physical changes have to occur, my hope is that this city does it in a way that does not restrict access to the park and does not exclude anyone. This city needs to continue to be a welcoming city, and honestly, anything that says you shouldn't be here, to me, just doesn't sound right, and I don't think that reflects the values of this city.
Dan?
Marcec?
So, yeah, I took the question as the city's relationship with the school itself. I actually don't have a lot of comment on that, but I do think, I'm back. Oh, good. So I thought I was too close. My son goes to museum school. I walk him there as many days as I can, unless it's raining or I have my 3 dogs in the car because I'm taking them to daycare. The only thing, I actually agree with most everything that everybody said. I don't necessarily support the one-way street. I do support one-side parking, actually all the way up Dartmouth, because when I do have to drive and I drive down Dartmouth, the people coming the other way up there tend to block traffic a lot. And there's a blind curve there, and that can be very dangerous. So that's, a traffic problem, like Commissioner Laratte said, that could use some attention. But overall, I'm very pleased that the school is there. I'm very pleased it's a half mile from my house and I can walk my son there because that's a very special experience. And I think it's really great for our community to have that and to share in that with the kids who go to that school and want to play with their friends that live in Avondale Estates. And so overall, I don't have much to add to everybody else's comments.
Thank you. We'll start this question with Dan Marcec. The city did not have its traditional July 4th fireworks show this year due to safety concerns. Do you support trying to bring it back if it can be done safely?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Suazo.
I agree. Who doesn't like fireworks? However, during those discussions, I learned of something that I wasn't really thinking about, and this is like these drone shows, and that sounds really cool too. I mean, fireworks are definitely better, but I'm open to alternatives. But absolutely, I can completely understand people's home insurance adjusters freaking out if they've got fireworks right over their heads.
Commissioner Laratte.
Yeah, I do support getting the fireworks back. I mean, the second thing you see on my yard sign is community, and that's something that I never want to use here. That's very important to me. By the way, I did recommend a drone show, and there were other reasons we couldn't do that. But, really, these opportunities for neighbors to come together are valuable, When I think about the 17 years that I've been here, what I think about are the things that I've done with my neighbors, and that's something I don't want to lose. I look at everybody out here and I'm grateful to be in the environment that I am. We moved down here from Philadelphia. This was a lucky happenstance. I was watching Eagles football at James Choice and somebody sat next to me. And, I told him that I was looking for a house and he said, look across the hedges. And I took a drive down there and my house had a for sale sign and we ended up buying it. I love this community. That's about all I can say.
Lyda Steadman.
I absolutely support bringing back the fireworks if they can be safely done. That has been a well-loved tradition in this community for decades. And it brings the community together, and young and old, and these are the things that are important to building a strong community. We've also lost our Easter egg hunt and our Labor Day race. These are all things that build community and build relationships between generations and, new people and people who've lived here for a long time. So I am fully in support of supporting the fireworks if they can be done safely, and bringing back other community events and keeping our community strong and connected.
Thank you. We're going to start this question with Lyda Steadman. What is your opinion about the city's current tax rate, and do you think it should be higher or lower, and why?
Well, the current tax rate is just a part of the issue. The valuations are what really drive property taxes. It's a combination of the two. So our values have increased dramatically, and even though our millage rate has stayed the same, we're still seeing an average increase last year of 9.5% just for 1 year in our actual taxes. Over the last, since 2020, residential taxes, and I'm only talking about residential, have grown almost 60%, which is almost twice the rate of inflation during that same time. So I would have supported House Bill 581 because I think that the assessors seem to have random ways of assessing property values, anywhere from 30% to somebody's going down. Mine was 18%, my neighbor's was 22%, another was 7%. And so House Bill 581 would have kept everything at the inflation rate. And then the city could use their millage rate to decide, whether, okay, do we need more than this? And then they would explain to the residents why we need to raise the millage rate. And so I do think we need to get our taxes under control in this city.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte.
Yeah, so the question is, can you repeat?
What is your opinion about the city's current tax rate, and do you think it should be higher or lower, and why?
Okay. I think it should be lower. It's part of my fiscal responsibility thing. I think there are ways that we can lower, in fact, I found a way for us to lower the city's part, the municipal part of your property taxes. And, I'm not going to go into all the details here, but we can do it. And more importantly, we can do it with zero impact on development. That train is rolling. It's not going to stop rolling. And we can lower residential taxes. What I'm going to do is cut it short on this right now. I was also the only commissioner to support, HB 581, 55% of our residents voted for it. What can I say? Read my dictatorish. I put it all out there, honestly. So,
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
I told you earlier that I was a Libra and I pride myself on balance. I feel like the city's decisions this year on how they address the millage rate and whether to opt out of HB 581 were fair and reasonable. I felt like it was right in the middle. I remember Mayor Elmore was the first one to speak on that and gave his opinion that the millage rate should stay where it was. Over the past few years, it had come down. There were proposals from the board to lower it, and there were proposals from the board to raise it, to increase the amount of money that was available in the capital fund or for reserves. The HB 581, the way I understand it, it's a regressive tax. It unequitably impacts different people, even neighbors. If you had put your, what do they call it, when you, your tax assessment had been frozen, had we opted in, two neighbors would have drastically different tax rates because it would have been locked in for the person who had contested their taxes. And that would not have felt good between neighbors. So I think it's a fair thing what the city did and how we ended up this year.
Dan Marcec.
So I would be very surprised if anybody sat up here and said that we should have higher taxes. But I will say that taxes are a very complicated issue. And every year, we have to look at our millage rate, and we have to decide what we want. We have to look at what that costs. Ms. Steadman has some really great data there about the relationship to inflation and to Avondale's taxes. But I have a lot of questions about how inflation, especially at the U.S. level, relates to what's happening here in Avondale Estates. How much has our cost of living gone up? What do we want to invest in? What's going to be that return on investment in 3, 5, 10 years? All of these things go into make these decisions. It's not as easy as just saying, we need to lower taxes or we want to raise taxes. No one wants to raise taxes. We all want lower taxes. In particular, I will say one thing I'm very worried about are the residents who've lived here a long time and their property values are going up. And it's not the same as someone who moves in and is looking for a bunch of equity and they're trying to sell and move out. Hopefully we don't have a lot of people like that here in Avondale. I don't know many. But it is concerning to see your property taxes go up and not have, have fixed income and things like that. So it's a really complicated issue and I think it requires a lot of close attention. So I'm going to say that I would prefer our taxes to be lower, but I'm willing to look at all sides and make sure that we get the return that we put into our investment.
Thank you. We're going to start this next question with Dan Marcec. Dan, what is your opinion of how the city maintains its current green spaces, and do you think there's anything the city could do differently?
Well, that's one thing we could probably spend our taxes on. I think the green spaces are maintained well enough. I don't have any strong complaints there. However, that is one thing that's incredibly important to me. When we were looking for houses, I have not given this away yet, but I've lived here for 9 years, so very short by many Avondale standards, but long for me. My wife and I have been together for 16 years, and we've lived in 8 different places, and we've lived here longer than any of the rest of them combined. And so if that tells you anything, that tells you something. But the reason we moved here was for the Avondale Lake. My number one criteria, we have 3 dogs, we had 2 at the time, is to be able to walk to a park. And as we've talked about earlier, my son goes to the museum school. We love walking through Willis Park. So the North Woods is a beautiful project. I know it's still a work in progress, but I'm really pleased with that. I walk through it almost every day. So I think that green space management and wildlife, our relationship with the local wildlife, good and bad, needs attention. And I think it's something that I would definitely prioritize as a commissioner.
Louis Suazo.
Dan, one of the founding principles you can see in those paintings behind you by Wilbur Kurtz are the green spaces in Avondale Estates, the meandering roads, the formal parks, the triangular parks at intersections, the bridle paths, the path around the lake. All of that is integral to the landscape design of this city, and it is what makes this city, one of the things that makes this city unique. It is absolutely worth preserving. The maintenance is important, but modernization is also important, and sustainability. I read something that I found on the city's website, which was a presentation regarding the Northwoods project, which in that painting of the lake would be in the upper left-hand corner. It's where the water comes into the lake. Walking past, to someone who doesn't know, a casual observer, they wouldn't even notice it, but the Northwoods Park includes a rain garden that captures 36 acres worth of runoff water and filters it and feeds it slowly into the lake and removes the silt. And as we know, there's a silt that has accumulated on the end of the lake. That is one example of a really sustainable and practical solution to environmental problems, which are all around. I'm so proud of our city for coming up with that solution to something like that. That's both sustainable and modern.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte.
Yeah, there are 2 things here. One is we do need to make some capital investments in our green space, especially the lake. I talked to one resident, and I don't even remember who it was, but he or she told me that when they were kids, they could jump off that bridge and not hit bottom. And you can't do that now, obviously. So there's obviously some capital investment that needs to be done there.
Commissioner Laratte, can you pull back just a little bit?
Sure. How's this?
Perfect.
Okay. The other part of it is the day-to-day maintenance. I've received texts with pictures of benches around the lake that are, not in the best shape. And these are not capital things. These are expenses. They can be fixed, day to day. What I would like to do really is to get a service management system into the city where residents can put in tickets for whatever, And I'd like to be able to get data on how long it takes to fix things, how long, it holds people accountable, and you get what you measure. I'm a data person. I like to look at data, and I think, if you're not measuring how well it's being done, then you don't know how well it's being done, and it probably won't be done as well as you would like it to be. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lyda Steadman.
Yes, I think we need to do a lot of improving on maintaining our green spaces. That is the core of making this the special community that it is, and it was designed, to have a lot of green spaces in our beautiful lake. It has really upset me to see how our lake has filled up with silt and deteriorated. I don't think as good a care has been taken of it as over the last number of years. I think and I agree with Lionel that some of these things that are just maintenance issues, there should be line items in the budget for replacing, benches and swings as they're needed to be done. I know we outsourced some of the landscaping. I think the staff we had did a better job. I think they were connected because they were part of the city. That is something that I'm very passionate about because I had a sister who was a landscape architect and a mother who was an avid gardener. And those are that's what makes Avondale really comfortable and beautiful, along with the beautiful homes. And it's the environment that is really important. I want to see it well taken care of.
Thank you. We are at the last question of tonight's forum, and then we're going to move into closing statement. And I think I picked a good last question because I think it picks up on a lot of the themes I was detecting as the questions were coming into my inbox, which is this sort of underlying tension between Avondale Estates' past and its future. So I think this question speaks directly to that. Starting with Lyda, do you feel that by focusing on development of the city's business community, that the city has neglected the needs of its residential community?
Well, I don't think that we have found the right balance. I do feel like that, development of our downtown is very important, but we also have to maintain and take care of our residential area. I don't think that that has been done as well in recent years. I don't know if it's because of development, but I do think that we have to balance. We have to take care of the city as a whole. This is a complete whole community, the commercial and the residential. And we want them blended together, to work together, and to both be a reflection of what the city was planned and meant to be. I would like to see us do a better job in the residential area. There are certain things that we have sidewalks that need to be fixed. There's one that's sitting up that far. It's just one square. We need to fix things like that. I want to see us move forward productively with redevelopment, but I also want to see that our city is cared for in the way and manner it deserves.
Commissioner Laratte?
Yeah, I think neglect is a strong word.
Can you sit back from me, Lionel?
Oh, I think neglect is a strong word. I think that.
A little further
Oh,
back.
the other way. Yeah. All right. Do I get my 2 seconds?
Yes, you do.
All right.
Absolutely.
I think neglect is a strong word. We do have folks out there doing work. I think that a large part, and that's just the nature of what we've been pursuing over the past 10 years or so, is that most of our focus is on the new, it's on development, and it has done this well. I think we should shift the focus a bit back to the residential area. I like to tell people that I live in a premium community, and I like the fact that I can walk down to the lake a few blocks from my house and see ducks and geese, and it's good stuff, right? But I do think that we have to maintain it, and we have to do a better job of maintaining it. It's tough. I guess Lyda used the word balance, and balance is what we have to do. I wouldn't be against shifting focus a little bit and putting it back into the residential areas so that residents can enjoy the premium city that they pay their taxes for. You can enjoy the downtown, of course, I'm not saying that. But, I think there's some work that could be done on the residential side. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
Can you restate?
Absolutely. Do you feel that by focusing on the development of the city's business community, that the city has neglected the needs of its residential community?
Oh, no, absolutely not neglected. Of course, when there's repairs that need to be done, they should be done. I think you go to the homepage of the website and it says report right there. And there is a mechanism for those things, and those things should be taken care of. Because some of the things we discussed are pretty straightforward. But absolutely not neglect. I feel investing in the efforts of the downtown, the complete streets, the Dale, the town green, these things are spectacularly exciting. They enhance our lifestyle. While we were here earlier, I saw a stroller. I see so many strollers, and I've heard reports from people that they see so many strollers. To me, that is the bellwether of good things happening in the city, of good decision-making, and of more great things to come. So no, it's definitely a balance, but no, neglect is absolutely too much. I think young families, new residents are moving here because of the tremendous things that are occurring. And I'm bringing this up real quickly. I don't know how many people get this Decatur Living magazine. There's a huge spread with gigantic photos of Avondale Estates talking about our businesses, our shops and breweries and restaurants. The word is out there. People are excited about the city. People want to be here. If there's a cracked sidewalk, I don't think that's going to discourage someone. Our property values will keep growing, and those houses next to the town green are going to sell out immediately.
Thank you. Dan Marcec.
So I also agree that I think neglect is probably too strong of a word. But what I see the city doing with downtown development is that this idea of growth is to preserve the quality of life that we have in a variety of ways. So downtown development is being done so as to take the tax burden off single-family residences and really all residences. I think that we need to build more housing in downtown. And the reason I say that, I'm an advocate of this concept called lifespan housing. So the idea that, we were all young adults once, we need a place to live. There isn't really much like that in Avondale Estates right now. If I want my kid to have the opportunities, and stay here if he doesn't want to, but if I wanted to have the opportunity to stay here, I wanted to have, a small apartment to live in. My parents are in their 70s. I would love them to have the opportunity to live in Avondale Estates, maybe in a flat or a townhome or senior living community. All of those things I think we need to build. And especially if we're talking about supporting local businesses and supporting our community in that way, that's how we do that. Our residential district as it is now cannot support the volume that our local businesses need to thrive. And so that's where I see the goal and the purpose of the development. And if it does lead to neglect of the residents, that is definitely a bad thing. But I think the vision is in service of all of us.
Thank you. Before we get to our closing statements, I'd like to make another shameless plug for our fall fundraiser. We've heard a few people tonight mention that they read Decatur-ish, which is kind of amazing since I started it on my couch like 10 years ago. But it's become this thing, right? It's become your paper. It's become a community paper. And in order for it to be sustainable, it needs community support so we can hire more reporters, so we can cover more stuff. So if you would, if you appreciated the form we provided tonight, please visit supportyourlocalnews.com and make a contribution to that fall fundraiser. It is really important, y'all. With that, we're going to get into our closing statements, and then I'm going to have a couple of things to say after that, and then we'll all go home. Lyda Steadman, starting with you, your closing statement.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Dan Marcec. I knew I'd mess it up once. No way. Dan Marcec, left to right.
Actually, no, this is good because my closing statement is really a continuation of what I was just saying. You'll see on my website and in my campaign platform that I use these words, grow and preserve together. The idea that growth and preservation are intertwined, and preservation is an action. It's something that you have to do. So for example, we have historic preservation guidelines to preserve the architectural quality of our historic residence areas. We have guidelines in our zoning codes to ensure open spaces within the new developments that we're making. Think about it like growing a garden. It's not always going to be clean. It might not always be the right height that you want, but you have to constantly care for it and constantly water it and constantly pay attention to it if you want it to be the thing that it's going to become. So that's kind of my overarching vision for what the future of our community looks like. But the last thing I want to say is that, as I mentioned, I've lived here 9 years, and I plan to live here a lot longer. I would love to earn your vote, and I will see you out there over the next month, because I see community buildings collective, and I want to make sure that I'm playing an active role as best as I can. So whether you elect me or not, I will see you around, and I look forward to being your neighbors.
Thank you. Louis Suazo.
Thank you again to everyone involved in putting this event on tonight. It's a big deal. And thank you for letting me share my enthusiasm about this city and about the possibility of serving you on the Board of Commissioners. To learn a little bit more about my vision, visit my website, which is luissuazo.com. I'd like to tell a very brief story. In the early 90s, when I moved to Georgia, I lived in Decatur, and I like to just noodle around and discover new places. And I stumbled across Tudor Village, and I discovered the lake. And I remember vividly thinking, wow, what is this place, first of all? But this is a gem. This is a jewel, a hidden gem. For me, it was an aspirational place. In 2018, I didn't know that my life would take me to living right here, close to the lake in the historic district of our city. And at that time, it felt like the city was waking up from a slumber. Things were happening. It was really exciting. I'm so grateful to have moved here at this time. This city literally inspires me. The new sidewalks, the easier access to public transportation, the sustainable gardening practices, the support of small business. I'm doing more because of the city. The city is encouraging me and inspiring me to be better.
Thank you. Commissioner Laratte.
And then I just want to note that I did give you a couple of plugs during the Anyway, folks, something that I've said in meetings, something that I've said to people out here, is that I place people over property. And I stand by that, and I'm proud of that. I like to think that after 17 years, my family and I are no longer from this city, but we're of this city. And I look around the room, and I see people who came to our house and partied with us when we first moved here and didn't know anybody. I see people I cooked for and served at Pigapalooza. I see people I painted the streets with before the 4th of July. I see people I stayed up all night with roasting a pig so that we could feed everybody the next day. I see people from Record Club. I see people I gathered with after experiencing a tragedy in our city. I see the people who ran with my son on his first race in the Labor Day race. I see people who kept an eye out on my son when he was 7 or 8 years old and running around the neighborhood. I see people who talk to my wife about the history of Avondale Estates. My wife's a historian. I see activists, golfers, chefs, pilots, engineers, architects, and people. I see a community. In the end, what I see is the reason that my family accepts that I spend so much time doing this. It's because I want to serve this community. I want to serve the people. And I hope that I've earned or will earn in your coming weeks your vote.
Thank you.
And one more sentence.
Sure.
May Avondale Estates evolve for another 100 years into a community even better than what it is now.
Thank you. Lyda Steadman, last word.
My last words are, I want to repeat that I believe that government exists to serve the people, and I want to be your public servant. I love this community. I ran these streets and climbed these trees, and my children did the same. I know so many people in this community that I admire and respect and love, and that's one of the things that I think it is important to do, is to build community. I feel like that, sometimes there's a division between people who've been here a long time and some newer people, and we don't need that kind of division, because we all love this community, and we can all work together to make Avondale the best place that it is. So together, I think that we can shape an Avondale where growth respects our established community, nature is protected, harmony is fostered, and every neighbor feels truly included. That is the Avondale I believe in, and that is the future that I want to help build with you. And I thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you. Let's give all of our candidates a round of applause. Please give my boss, Karina, a round of applause here. I want to say a couple of things, and then I'll let everyone go. First of all, at Decatur-ish, we believe that good government is good for everyone. We say that a lot. Ask my team. They'll tell you I say that a lot. But it's true. And good government requires good people to step up to run for seats like City Commission. And so to everyone up here, thank you for your interest in public service, because it's important. To Commissioner Laratte, thank you for your public service. I think Mayor Elmore is over there. Mayor Elmore, every other elected official in this room, thank you so much for your public service. You can find our coverage of this forum over on Decatur-ish.com the next day or so, and be on the lookout for our voters guide. And with that, we hope everyone has a lovely evening. Take care, and please remember to vote in the November 4th municipal election. Good night, everybody.